must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from the Republic of Kenya General Headquarters and from the Political Command Center in London. Good afternoon in Nairobi. Thank you very much, all of you, for the good week. This is the beginning of another week with a lot of hurdles for Africa and a lot of hurdles for the world. Still, COVID-19 goes on. Good afternoon, Miriam, in the General Headquarters in Nairobi.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to our panelists this afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers wherever they're watching us from.
Thank you very much, the panel, and Miriam will take time to introduce you later. I just want to say thank you very much from this end. We are together fighting for Africa and for a good Africa. We are together telling the truth, telling the world what it is supposed to be. Today is a great day that we shall take 6 countries. All those watching us from Tripoli, Cape Town, Accra, Asmara, Mogadishu, Abuja, Bangui, Tunis, Algiers, Rabat. Thank you very much. Those watching us in Jamena, thank you very much. Those watching us in Khartoum, in Kigali, Kampala, Lusaka, Harare, thank you very much. This is your show. In Cameroon, Yaoundé, Paul Biya, Equatorial Guinea, what is happening there? 100 people died. Why don't you give up power? Those watching us in Cameroon, Nigeria, dismembering itself, a huge country with no direction. What a shame for Africa. What a shame for this continent. We have cried and cried for this continent. We have asked this continent, can you think of something else? Can we do a renaissance? Can Africa do a renaissance? If Europe did a renaissance, why is Africa not doing a renaissance? Why are we going on as if things are normal? We disappear, we don't tell the citizens, taxpayers where we are. A president in Africa disappears, goes to some place and hides, but you don't tell people where you are. You are a responsibility of that place. You are the responsibility of the people of that nation. Sometime back 3 years ago, President Mutharika of Malawi disappeared for 1 year. You remember that? And the people didn't know. People thought we had kidnapped him. Or they had kidnapped himself. Then he appeared. No explanation. It is very credible for the leadership in Africa to understand, even if you have been injured by a small tool, which is harming the nation, you are the leader of the nation. You come out and say, I'm sorry. I have been injured. I will be hospitalized tomorrow for 5 days. But later on yesterday, we saw Magufuli appearing again in public. I think you have seen those clips. He appeared in Tanzania. So we leave it to that, but we come back to Africa again. Have you heard what Dr. Tedros has said? I and Miriam and all of us, Sean and Professor Onyari, Karanja, you had not come yet, and Douglas. We told you, I told you this man will create problems. Yesterday he went on international television. He said he has stopped this medicine. Have you heard? I told you, I predicted this 1 year ago. So if my predictions are wrong, Douglas will tell you that I've never predicted something that has brought a catastrophe to this world. Looking across, we have a lot of difficulties. Is there a quiet, silent regime change, Miriam? Are there regime change plans for countries in Africa? Do you think Africa will be stable under Biden? Do you think? Look again. Look at the statements that NGOs are issuing out. Are we safe? Is Africa safe? Look at it. Look at the problems that we are going into. How long will Africa stand? No solution to any of these problems. What can be done? Thank you very much, all of you viewers. You are welcome to the show. If you want to take part, look at our poster. There is Zoom number there. 399 535 8320. Punch in that number. If you have Zoom anywhere in the world, don't keep quiet. Then the postcard or postcode or code for entering 503-670. The administrators will allow you to speak to us. Speak to us, don't fear. That is one way we can discuss. Don't hide anything. From the political command center in London, let's get the headlines, the news headlines, and the newspaper headlines in Kenya. What do they say? Then we come to our main topics. Good afternoon, Africa. Back to you in the studios, General Studios in Nairobi, Miriam Ogut.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor, for that introduction. And on the panel this afternoon, we do have Professor Jared Onyari. Professor, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Miriam, Dr. Masanga, Daniel, Javan, Douglas, and the rest of our our viewers from wherever they are this afternoon or morning.
All right. Very well. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the show today. And we also have Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Jevan, good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Miriam. Good afternoon to you. And good afternoon to Dr. David Matsanga, Professor Jared Onyari, Daniel Wesonga, and Douglas Kiremi. And good afternoon or good morning to our viewers, wherever they are watching us from. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's good to have you too. And we have Daniel Wesonga. Daniel, a very good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters in Nairobi. Good afternoon, Dr. Matsanga David in the suburbs of London. Good afternoon to Professor Jared Onyari, my good friends, Jevan Karanja in Nanyuki, and my very good friend, Douglas Kiremi Bundi in Meru County. Good afternoon.
Okay, and good afternoon to you, Daniel. And we also have Douglas Kiremi from Meru County representing there. Douglas, good afternoon to you.
A very good afternoon to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to my friends, Sean Wesonga, Jevan Karanja, Professor Jared Onyari, and also to Dr. David Matsanga. And congratulations, Dr. David Matsanga. He had predicted that Kenya will not step into ICJ, and the Republic of Kenya had said and written to ICJ that as a country we shall never be a participant in that. Thank you, Dr. Matsanga, for that, and thank you for standing for our country. It also calls, before I stop, calls for people to be patriotic, Miriam.
Okay.
To their
thank
country
you so much.
and also to speak for their own nation, like Dr. Matsanga speaks for Africa.
Very
thank
well.
you, Miriam.
Thank you so much. I didn't want to jump the rope before the cut there, but thank you so much indeed. So let's just start with the topics we have today. We will look at the Kenya ICJ Repulsed and Somalia, the axis of evil, and then our second topic, Mozambique, forgotten war of Alshabaab, Senegal on fire after bad elections, and then we shall conclude with Ethiopia under microscope. So let me just do an introduction and then Doctor will take it from there. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Kenya will no longer participate in the International Maritime Boundary Dispute case with Somalia in protest at perceived bias and unwillingness of the court to accommodate requests for delaying and the hearings of a result of the pandemic document seen by the Sunday Nation now shows. The bold move, relayed by Kenya to the Hague-based International Court of Justice ahead of the resumption of the case tomorrow, comes at a time of deteriorating diplomatic relationship between Nairobi and Mogadishu and puts a big question mark on how many eventual decisions will be enforced should the proceedings continue. With only Somalia participating, the court relies on the United Nations Security Council to ensure its decisions are respected, but this is likely to present a diplomatic dilemma depending on the outcome, as Kenya is currently a non-permanent member of the influential body where 5 of the world's most powerful nations have permanent seats. And I will not read the whole of the story, so Doctor, just start us off.
Thank you very much, Miriam. This is a story that went sour from the way the word go. This is a story that we should have narrated to the world. This is a story what Kenya should have put forward. I don't know whether you asked me to go ahead on that ICJ pullout. Yes. In 2009, the Kenya government with Somali government sat down and agreed on a memorandum of understanding on how things would move the way forward from there. The African Union constitutive arrangement, one of the charters of the African Union, does not allow discussion of boundaries, does not allow anybody to start discussing boundaries, because these boundaries were drawn not by us, were drawn by Bismarck in 1884 in Berlin. So the African Union Charter, the formation, if Mr. Farimaje is stupid, silly, ignorant, he better hears this, because he better goes back to school. That we elders who are there when AU was being formed, or AU, I was born, I was happy. When Empress Haile came to Nairobi, when Kenyatta went to Ethiopia, I was happy. Farimajo was stupidly not born. And he's one of those bringing us all these problems. So let him hear why AU has put that caveat in their charter. Is because if every African country started saying, this river is where I end, you have invaded my river. The panel, I submit, you will have a problem. Everybody will be fighting each other. So African Union has put a constitutive arrangement for people who are injured to come and talk and arbitrate. Arbitration centers have been created by the AU. 2009, Wetangula and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Somalia signed an agreement. That agreement still holds. Comes in, Mr. Farimajo takes away every right because Americans, Chevron oil company, is telling him we need the oil. Because Norway, through Prime Minister Hassan Harye, the former Prime Minister, is the one who caused us the problem. The same one who was involved in piracy. Piracy. We are not going to talk, keeping quiet. And Ahmed Nasir, you Grand Mullah, we have been keeping quiet about you. But you have brought yourself to the Twitter. We are going to expose you. We are going to expose you. And you end up in a committee or International Criminal Court. I swear. You are the one saying Kenya is bankrupt. That's why it can't go to ICC. Wewe Nasir, a Grand Mullah. Background yako tunajua wewe. So take a shot. You threaten Maraga, not people like us. Take a shot. We know what you do. We know where you got your money from. And we are not going to keep quiet this time. We shall tell you off. Because you think you are the only smartest man around this country. Telling people off because you go and lie to Uhuru Kenyatta, then you are my friend, you lie here. No! Kwenda! Nyenye time has come for people, younger men like this, to tell you off. We know. You see what Grand Mullah has written? Oh, Kenya is lacking money. What lacking money? You are the one even getting information for Kenya, from Kenya to Somalia. You are the one even bringing us about trouble here. Everybody knows. And if people are not telling you, I have said it. What to do? What will you attach of mine? I'm bankrupt as you see. What will you attach? Silly. Good lawyer, you created problems. You are now telling us that Kenya is bankrupt. That's why it cannot pay lawyers. You have forgotten the mess ICJ will bring in the Indian Ocean. Now I can know why Mr. Grand Mullah wants this mess to go in the ICJ so that ship hijackers, those who hijacked the ships can come back in Indian Ocean. Wow. Where? If I were you, keep quiet under the water. He's condemning the government for not having sent lawyers. But Miriam, let me come back to that topic. The topic is very simple. Do you go to ICJ when you are not part of the first decision? The first decision? What does the ICJ constitution say? Have we done arbitration and it has failed? Have we agreed to go before the tribunal? Did Kenya agree to go before the tribunal and agree that to take us? Who took Kenya to the ICJ? Who? Who are those who took Kenya to the ICJ? The hammer should fall as we analyze. There was no need of Kenya going to the ICJ to parade yourself that you know more when you don't even know international law. Yes, you can know criminal law of Nairobi here. Criminal law and threatening people with big words in Nairobi. But my friend, international law is not even law. It is lobby. Onyari, you'll agree with me.
That's true. That's the way.
It's Professor Gifu Mugai today. Muze, you know everything, but you don't know international law. You know this local law here. You teach it, but you cannot win international case without lobby. And anybody in Kenya thinking he can win a case without men shouting with them big mouth like a matanga, you are dead. You better involve the matangas to shout. That's how they win international cases. If you don't have a lobby, consider yourself, go home. Don't waste that money in a hotel in The Hague. Every time I moved around ICC, the earthquake came. Every minute, with radio call, with this. To rescue my brothers, I had radio calls. Yes, Miriam. Well-organized radio calls, men. And then you threaten the ICC itself by hiring 10 Mercedes-Benz, dropping your people at a go. They got scared. That's lobby. That's tactics of activism. Have you ever seen 10 Mercedes-Benz following you when the drivers are empty? And you come out in one. To the extent that Miguna thought I had hired an embassy car, yet these were my hired drivers. I had drivers to threaten. Ocampo was coming on a bicycle. I arrived at the same time when Ocampo was on a bicycle. I was in the Mercedes. And the Muzungu was opening for me. Then to make sure that he knocks Ocampo's bicycle. Then we say, we have met. You saw me at the stairs of ICC gate. You will not miss that picture, Mr. Yes, but the Mercedes even waited there. They had to wait. That is tactic of winning. You can have the law in the brain, but if you don't have those, come on, don't go to the law, to that court. Somalia is beating us because they are everywhere. Now they have marshaled their people from Belgium, from Norway. They are in the whole Hague, despite the problems of the Norwegians, they are European Union people. They are there like this. Tomorrow you will see the whole city of The Hague is full of Somali nationals who live in Europe. What has Kenya got? You go there with COVID-19, you have nothing. So Kenya must learn. It is good they have withdrawn. The case was badly placed. The case was badly filed. We lost the first ground, Miriam. We should not have gone into this court. We're going to go this court under Article 40, 34 or 40. Check that article of ICJ. You need it before you take me there. Let's talk. And the two, the ICJ is employed by the Secretary General of United Nations. Douglas said a statement here that I predict. Douglas, I am like a graph. I have already seen where this case is going to end. Douglas, Budi Kirimi, call me a graph. I've already seen. Have you seen that I have already written 2 letters, laid the ground for Kenya, and I said the way to go is UN, Security Council. Stop. Deferral under Chapter 7. If there is anybody who has written it in Kenya, show me. I've written it. I'm happy. I don't want a reward. I don't want a medal. East or West, believe me or not, you are coming where I've gone already. You are coming there. Because now, when Kenya refuses to attend, what does it become, Miriam? It becomes a dispute, isn't it? Therefore, how do you solve it? Secretary General, am I wrong? Who is the paymaster of, why do people waste money here? And lie. Why do you lie? The quickest way was to write to the Secretary General and complain and say we are not coming. Because of reason A, B, C, D, C. Our witnesses are in Indian Ocean. The elders are there on the boundaries. They cannot fly because of COVID-19. You don't go to the court. It's useless. That's useless shit. God. The useless is full of mafizolos, traitors, whose countries cannot bring a case in the same court. You tell him an American will do it in favor of him. An American will refuse Chevron to draw the oil in Mogadishu. If you give Somalia that oil, America will come and take it all the day. And you promote an American judge and you want Matsanga to keep quiet. Hallelujah. No, that one I have already found in the details. I've found what she was. I'm not going to accept an American judge to sit on the panel when America cannot be judged. Already I'm going in court. I don't keep quiet. I'm the omutata of the seas of Atlantic and the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean. I am the omutata. I'm not keeping quiet. Let people in Kenya have hope. I cannot allow an American judge to judge us when America does not want to judge itself. And then you put a Russian as deputy. Hey, what are we going to get? I am Cuba. I trained in Cuba. I will not live the dream of Fidel Castro. I went in North Korea. I will not lose the 3 months of training I got. Yes, I want to work on this Mafikizolo court. You can't allow Russia, America, and the Russia deputy. So we are finished. So France, what France has done is to hide that they bring Kenya. Then France will come to Kenya and they say, you know, we can help you this case to go. If you give us Ngamia 1 or Ngamia 2 or Ngamia 3, either you leave completely. You don't know. This is international conspiracy. My panel, as I submit, thank you. The case will finally not take off with the Kenya president. I want to thank all of you. We won the battle. We continue from tomorrow. We shall be releasing real tapes of discussions on how Farimajo has been discussing with the former judge. Those tapes are coming. Glue yourself on the phone and you will see that we are mastering. We are mastering. So if Somalis thought they can challenge me, they always call me names. Mine. You don't, how can a country without a toilet, and we are helping them to have a toilet, to harass us? We Ugandans have died for them. They continue killing us. The regime in Mogadishu is Alshabaab regime. It has men there, I know. There's one man there, I know, who always walks between Asimara and Mogadishu. Why is it that the Farimajo cannot give us that man? Thank you. Why? Is this a government? Our troops are dying. My Ugandan people are being killed every day. You are playing with us. You are getting money from Qatar to the Attorney General of Somalia, Vice Attorney General, my food. Attorney General studied law where? What? Watu wengine Afrika ilikuwa mbaya sana. Thank you. I am not a bad man, but this is it. Afrika ilikuwa mbaya sana, inatuletea likala This color is what has killed us. And I think maybe God has gave us this black color in order to protect us from the rest. Are we not unique? Why don't we come back home in Addis Ababa to solve the problem? Leave the Indian Ocean free. Let that oil even sit there for years to come. We shall get a new president in America, in Mogadishu, who will accept to share the oil with Kenya. Sindio? And there will be no fight. I rest my case, Miriam.
All right. Thank you. So, Attorney General Kihara Kariuki communicated the government's decision to the ICJ, also referred to as the World Court, on March 11th, just days before the oral hearings was set to start on March 15th and run until March 24th. And a part of that communication reads, Kenya wishes to inform the court through the registrar that it shall not be participating in the hearings in the case herein should the same proceed from March 15th, 2021 as presently scheduled. The letter by the Attorney General states. Professor Onyari, what is the ramification of this latest move by Kenya?
Thank you, Miriam, for that good question. We have discussed this one before. The case was not even properly before the court. We have said this. Dr. Masanga has read the background. We had already agreed on the memorandum of understanding. And even in the memorandum of understanding, we had even agreed on how we handle future misunderstanding if at all it comes. What we can see, Miriam, this is a total fraud, a total stabbing Kenya at the back, Miriam, and it cannot be done. So what you need to do about justice, Miriam, it must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. Even before justice is being done, it must be seen that we can be able to get it, Miriam. The court itself, it was biased, Miriam. I don't know. I agree that the description Dr. Masanga said about Professor Gitu Muigai, he can only be able to speak here in Nairobi. But on international law, Miriam, is zero. Is zero. You need to do a lot of robbing, as the way Dr. Masanga said. What am I trying to say, Miriam? You have a judge who is a Somalia. We ask for himself to recuse himself from hearing the case, Miriam, which we are entitled, Miriam. I don't know which court can refuse that, Miriam. Up to now, as even I speak to you, Miriam, the court has not responded to Kenya whether they are going to remove that charge or not remove that charge. So, Miriam, what Kenya has done, Miriam, we, of course, you have appointed new advocates or lawyers to the case, Miriam. The law of natural justice allows you, Miriam, that these new lawyers must get acquainted with the cases, Miriam. And in the process, Miriam, if you have got additional evidence which will help you to prosecute your case, nobody should stop you. So, Miriam, if all these avenues, Miriam, all these avenues have been crossed, Miriam, what will be an intelligent and a man who is seeing can do is to get out of the case and decide the way you want to decide. So on this, the Attorney General Kariuki, he has done Kenya proud. And Miriam, hear this. This is as it has already come as a dispute which will be handled by United Security Council. But if you are going for the case of just you are going to get an order, judgment, which is on paper, just go ahead and give an judgment. But what I said, what we discussed here on Friday, Miriam, there is no way, and we are not going to deny, that Somalia are our neighbors. We are neighbors. We must find ways on how we handle our disputes. But if you are seeing this push of being pushed from certain quarters, Miriam, take it to the bank. There will be war over the disputed marine boundaries. There will be war. The indicators towards war are there. Remember the Wasi Abdi we had here, the one who was saying, was it in Norway? He doesn't even know the reality on the ground. He's staying in the diaspora. Did you see the kind of nonsense he was talking about? So, Miriam, an opportunity has come for the for United Nations, the Security Council, to have these parties to have a conversation. Miriam, I'm sure, Kenya, we are not ready or interested to take any part of someone's land. Neither are we ready to cede our boundary. So it is a case to watch. It's a case to watch. Let us see what the court is going to say tomorrow, and then we'll be able to find the way forward, Miriam.
Okay. Well, thank you, Professor. Now, still on the story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation, in the current matter, University of Nairobi's Professor Musili Wambua, who is an expert in maritime law and law of the sea, says that like any other court process, if any party pulls out of the proceedings, provided that the party had sufficient notice of proceedings, the court is at liberty to proceed with the hearing, notwithstanding the absence of the party. But he says the outcome loses legitimacy. Jevan Karanja, the decision by Kenya to pull out of this case a few days before it starts tomorrow, how will that impact, the whole process and, of course, the relationship between Kenya and Somalia?
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. And that's exactly what we were calling for, because, Miriam, we cannot go for a case where you are a victim, where you already know that your justice is not seen to be done from the word go. The best option under that Kenya have done is quitting or not participating, being a part of that hearing tomorrow, and that is quite good. And as the professor professor of Nairobi is saying from the newspaper, that is exactly, and I agree with him that the outcome will lose its legitimacy. But the most important thing is the two countries, because we are neighbors, as Professor Onyari have said, to come on the table, to come on the negotiating table, and to settle their issues on the table, so that we can have, we can continue having the relationship and the diplomatic ties between the two countries intact, because we remain to be neighbors with Somalia. But the most important thing is the people of Somalia, they need to have a leader who understands the need to have regional cooperation, somebody who understands the need to respect their neighbors. Because Somalia is a country that is torn. This is a country that is in pieces. Therefore, they need, first of all, to work on their issues before they bring their problems to our country. Because, Miriam, now, the country that we have tried to rebuild, Kenya as a nation, we have tried to rebuild Somalia for decades now, but they are not respecting that. Therefore, I agree with Kenya, that was the best option, because for some extent, Somalia have been riding on us. They have thinking that Kenyans, we have no actions to take. But now they have seen that our country is way ahead, and that was the best option. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, we need to respect our boundaries, because when we start touching on the boundaries, we don't know what will come next. Maybe if Somalia wins the case, they could then come with a new boundary issue, and they bring their territory into our country, to a point where we find that a quarter of our country is gone. Therefore, that is the best option. And this issue of boundaries, Miriam, they need to be discussed, from my opinion, in between the two countries, where they can settle their issues amicably without involving a third party. We know in the ICJ, the court have already been interfered by external forces, the France, the Norway, and so on. Therefore, as Kenya, as a victim, justice was not going to be done. We could not have our right to share. Therefore, that was the best option. And let's go through the UN Security Council, so that we can settle this issue amicably, and we bring solution to our country, and so that we live a level ground where nobody will feel hurted. Because when we do that, one will go bitter, and they may come out violently. And we don't want these countries to engage on that kind of a bitter exchange of weapons. Thank you.
All right, I agree with you. I think the acrimony we already have is enough, and we need to solve that fast. Now, the ICJ lacks an enforcement mechanism for its decisions and relies on the United Nations Security Council to implement the rulings. Remember, Kenya began its 2-year term as a member of the council in January this year. It is the Security Council that will be charged with enforcing the decision of the ICJ in the matter. And also remember that Kenya currently is the chair of the African Union Peace and Security Council, potentially giving it influence over the matter. So how do you see this playing out? Kenya holding these very important positions there, the organs that are also could be used or could be part of the decision making on a case that also Kenya is part of that organ. How do you see this playing out, Daniel?
Miriam, first and foremost, let me take this opportunity to register my utmost disgust on the statements made by lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, the Grand on Twitter. First and foremost, we understand that Abdullahi is an errand boy of the despot in Mogadishu. He's a plunderer. He's a sanctuary of evil. He has been used by Alshabaab to invest its money here in Kenya, in Kilimani, and other parts of the city, real estate. And we know the kind of dalliance that he enjoys with Somali and the terrorist groups. But he should not use that as a platform to really besmirk his own country and show lack of patriotism in this matter. Miriam, back to the developing story of Kenya pulling out at the 11th hour. I believe this is the best case scenario. That was the decision that actually in our previous discussion we said the government of Kenya could take. Because one thing, Miriam, you realize Somalia is so much hell-bent in justifying itself and getting credibility on this matter. When you look at the maps that have been shared in regards to this maritime border row, it shows that the same measurement that I used to demarcate the border between the Kenyan side of the Indian Ocean and the Tanzanian Indian Ocean is the same one that has been used to demarcate between Somalia and Kenya. And therefore, being bogged into this push and pull between Kenya and Somalia would have only worked in the favor of Somalia. So therefore, pulling out is a very strong statement that we are not going to put our sovereignty in jeopardy, and we are not going to compromise. Because remember, Miriam, Kenya as it is right now is fighting with one hand tied at the back. This case was already skewed from the very beginning, and proceeding with it could have spelled a disaster, because Somalia would have found an opportunity to show its credibility, to seek credibility before the international community, before the African nations, and therefore they would have gained a mileage from that. But as Kenyans, we should maintain our stand. We should tell of the Somalis and tell them that we are not ready to cede any part of our country, as Professor Jared Onyari says. So therefore, pulling out of this process shows Somalia that we are not ready to get into petty fights with them. They say that if you get into a mud fight with a pig, you know what the outcome will be. So therefore, Miriam, I think that is the best position, and we should treat this process with the contempt it deserves. Because at the end of the day, the ICJ does not have any reputation of making sure that the rulings that it gives out are enforced, and nothing would have come out of the ICJ. So therefore, going there would have been a waste of time, waste of our resources, and waste of our own reputation. So it's better we sit back, we explore other mechanisms that will be able to solve this stalemate. That is my input, Miriam.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. And on Friday, I pointed out a story that was carried out on the Standard newspaper just at the end of the show we had on Friday. Let me just read a bit of that before, Douglas, you come in. The title is, it is on page 2 of the Standard newspaper, Border Row, Somalia omitted vital sentence in court file. Somalia omitted a 7-word sentence outlining how it ought to amicably resolve a maritime dispute with Kenya out of court. Documents filed before the International Court of Justice show that Somalia had in its court documents reproduced all the contents of its 2009 Memorandum of Understanding with Kenya, which excluded the last line, which locked out a possibility of it suing in the event it did not agree with Kenya. So the initial agreement was suing Kenya was not part of the deal, but Somalia appeared to have removed that in the document they have presented to the ICJ. And so I'll not get into the whole story there, but Douglas, Kenya withdrawing from the ICJ case, do you think Kenya would have gotten a fair hearing there at the ICJ?
Thank you, Miriam. My opinion on the same is that Kenya would not have gotten a fair hearing at the ICJ. Remember when Judge Yusuf was the president of the International Court of Justice,
he meddled into this case and also made very unfavorable decisions and also petitions against the people of Kenya and also against our case. He weakened the case being a Somali national, and also at the end of the day, we also end up a huge problem when we got into the case when Somali people and also their president and already sold the oil blocks and in Indian Ocean. It means by the time you have floated the oil blocks in Indian Ocean, you have already made a decision over the same and also moved on. So those two scenarios, Miriam, would not have guaranteed Kenya a fair hearing at the International Criminal Court of Justice, and also for the people of Somalia to think that now we can be able to get justice when their own son, their own man, their own national was a president of the International Court of Justice. It is an injustice itself to the people of Kenya. There was complete bias on our side, and we wouldn't accept that as a country. And one perspective that people would receive from that is that a continued refusal to defer these cases, even citing COVID-19. Kenya has been the most reasonable party on the same. Remember, Miriam, there are countries that have gone into elections with the COVID-19. They have lost a lot of people. They have lost a lot of their leaders and all that. But at the end of the day, what Kenya is saying is that we have constraints of budget. We cannot continue hearing these cases from 15. We cannot continue with this process because one, we have a huge problem with that, because when Kenya continues going into that, and we have also budget constraints, and we have also wasted a lot of time in that, and we are not going to get justice. Why would we continue with that already determined case, Miriam? Remember, Mr. Yusuf continues sitting at the International Court of Justice bench. So as a country, there is no justice we would get at the ICJ, and the only way is having a local tribunal. If we cannot go the way of the local tribunal, we go to the United Nations Security Council. So Kenya cannot go to ICJ when we know very well we are not going to get justice. Nobody goes to a war that they know they have lost. Nobody goes to a place where they know they have lost already. On this matter, we have already lost because the judge has been very biased when...
Yes, but Douglas, the decisions from the ICJ are implemented at the United Nations Security Council, which Kenya is a member of right now.
Yes, Miriam?
I'm saying the decisions at the ICJ, whichever the outcome that will come from this court moving forward, they are implemented by the United Nations Security Council, which Kenya is part of right now. So how will that impact on the whole case?
Miriam, we cannot have one lopsided case. They cannot continue having a case with Somalia who sued us in 2014 around when Kenya has already withdrawn this. It is going to have a drawback on the same. They cannot make a decision that is lopsided, whereas Kenya has been able to remove themselves from the case. We shall protest that at the United Nations Security Council, because Miriam, at the end of the day, if a case is taken to court and one party withdraws in the middle of the case, there is no one that is going to give any condition or any give any judgment prior to that. Whereas that these people have the right to have gone ahead in 2014 and also sued us. They are not going to get any justice that is going justice or anything that is going to be gotten from the case, and also it's going to be implemented at the United Nations Security Council, and Kenya is excluded from the same, Miriam. So I think at this point, we need to be able to have an amicable solution from that, and that solution is not at ICJ, Miriam.
Okay.
It is biased. It is against the will of the people of Kenya. They don't want to listen to us. They just treating us. They're mistreating us at ICJ. We have no a regard for a process that we know we have already lost, and a process that does not listen to us. This ICJ court, since 2018, when Mr. Yusuf was in charge, they have been biased against the people of Kenya. It is not something that we can be able to accept, Miriam. Okay. And Kenya has been a very cooperative regional player, and also based on our common ambitions, we have been able to help them. If we cannot be able to solve this problem with ICJ, with Somalia, and they have gone to ICJ, why would we go there, Miriam, when we can be able to solve our problems there? Right. If they have gone to ICJ today, we can go to United Security Council, where we are a member now. For a period of 2 years, we can be able to solve our problems from there. At this point, Miriam, it is very biased. We cannot be able to to get any justice from them. That's my submission.
Or just go to the African Union Peace and Security Council, which Kenya now is the chair. All right, as we conclude this matter, Doctor, now we've talked about the international interest, that they have really vested interest in what is happening now there in Somalia. The Kenya-Somali maritime dispute has seen world powers become involved in, even if indirectly attracted by the promise of abundant oil and gas deposits in the Indian Ocean waters. The US and France, in particular, have reportedly been siding with Kenya, given by the partnership Washington is particularly has with Kenya on the war on terror. Also, like France, the US could be interested to the promise that American companies would benefit if Kenya controls the disputed zone. On the other hand, Norway was one of the bidders at the Somali Oil and Gas Conference in London in February 2019. The conference was organized by Spectrum Geo Limited, a Norway-based seismic data processing company, which has been working with the federal government of Somalia. So actually, France and US are siding with Kenya, and we've seen UK and Norway are siding with Somalia. So we've seen how that has played out. So what this vested interest from outsiders, how have they fueled this maritime dispute between Kenya and Somalia, Doctor, as we conclude on this topic?
First of all, Miriam, let me take this opportunity to inform the public that Article 40 of the ICJ, which is the statute that governs the International Court of Justice, says, and I quote, cases are brought before the court as the case may be, either by notification of the special agreement, by notification. You read something in the standard. Somalia removed that notification. Have you seen that? This is the law. I don't argue like a Professor Mungai. No.
That's law.
I argue like a real guy on the ground. I'm a street reader. I read through hardship, cleaning toilets. Therefore, I see one word by one word. Let me repeat for Kenyans to hear. Cases are brought before the court as a case may be, either by the notification of special agreement or by written application addressed to the registrar. In either case, the subject of dispute and the parties shall be indicated. Somalia withdrew from what you have read there on the standard. They have withdrawn something out of the original case.
Yeah, the original case they filed. They removed. Yeah.
Therefore, any legal country, any minded man who wants to save his country, like me, I want to save my East African nation. I stand on that clause alone and break you down. I don't come to a place, to a court, where fraudulent militia, it's not the government, this is the militia. A fraudulent militia has removed the court papers and given the court half because there was a Somali judge who accepted the documents. Therefore, where was Kenya sleeping? Where were they sleeping? I stood on that ground and I said, no, there was no agreement. You must agree. Both countries, both parties must agree, Jameni, and let it be recorded that Kenya has done a very good job, and let them come back to people who know international law, work with us in groups, we help them. Don't be a lawyer when you call yourself, you know everything. It is a simple thing that can let your case go down. For example, there, if they have withdrawn the original documents, they filed them fraudulently. It means they filed a fraudulent claim when they had already agreed in 2009.
Lack of disclosure.
Yes, they did not disclose that there was an agreement of 2009. the court would have not accepted those documents. Therefore, the case was thrown from day one, and I'm going from day one. That's why I'm demolishing my good friends whom I share coffee with. They handled this case very badly. And that the government here, I have no prisoners to handle. My room is very small. I'm alone with my children. They are gone. I have no prisoners. I don't take any prisoners. On this subject, erred. The former AG erred. Full stop. He can have 2,000 degrees. I don't care. You cannot win an international case without an activist like a Wamutata. And the Matsanga is the Wamutata of the Africa. Check anywhere. You can't. You can't. Even the United States needs lobby. Not this lobby of you, the PS of Foreign Affairs. Nobody wants to listen to you. Some of these people want to listen to the rough men of the streets who will tell them more. Not you who will come with a government position. America would like to listen more about this conflict from me, who is outside. Britain would like to know why I am fighting on this Indian Ocean not to have a conflict, because their ships will not pass these waters. I'm telling you, if we don't resolve it and we allow the court to make a decision, the ship will not, trading with the East will be a nightmare. You have to pass the ships through Cape Town, which is the longest route. So you tell me, which country in Europe wants war now in Indian Ocean? Which country? Which country? And that's why Britain has agreed to go back, Miriam, to investigate the agreement of Soma Oil, which bought the regions, which gave money for the blocks to be identified. Could this money have gone to terrorists? The man who got the money, he could have paid the terrorists. And the British law will catch you. Don't worry, things are coming. I advise Mr. Hassan Harry to travel to Britain today with his Norwegian passport. And let's see whether he will come back. Fuck it. Hii watu wanatusumbua sana. Tunasaidia watu wa jameni. I'm sorry, Miriam. Tunasaidiana. Tumesaidia sana, tunachoka. That's the man who brought us all the problems we had. So that is the law. Miriam, show me one letter that Somalia and Kenya agreed, let's go to ICJ. Where is it? What does the article say? The register cannot receive your documents when both parties have not agreed. We should have just protested a long time ago. But thank you very much. Let's go to another topic. We have done it. I'm sorry. We have done it. It is here for us to stay. Let Kenya not go. Let Kenya go to the UN, tell them we are fighting Alshabaab, we have insurgency in the region, and if we start this case, it will bring us, security will not be there in Indian Ocean. No Security Council member would like another third world war to erupt here. That's the advice I'm giving the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who apparently should know this better than myself. Other than sitting saying you are, there's nothing you are doing. You are just, these Somalis are very crafty. You know, the way they write their speeches, Miriam, they have experts who write their speeches. Very short, and their statements. Have you not seen that, my brother? Have you not seen the statements of the Somalis? The English is really tough.
Yes, very
Miriam,
straight to the point.
Give a credit where it is due. Yes, and we have to say the truth.
And ours?
We are in longo zone. Tunaleta I think, oh, yeah.
My God.
Today is the day for us to speak the truth. There are some people who are paid to do this work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Don't write longer statements. You know, these boys of Somalia they have that type of Harvard, Oxford English, but pump one page. My Jesus Christ. It comes, you know now like this, they are going, you wait for their statement. I will upload it for you because I pick it as they are typing, I pick it. I know what it is. They also should know I'm also dead on that. As they type their computers, I pick it. So what will you do? We shall have their statements. They write one statement, very classic English. For us, we ramble. Why are we rambling? This law is here. We don't have a letter to notify us. Someone, look here. Someone would wake up today, as I finish medium, and say Naivasha is my territory. It was taken away from me. And then it ran it to ICJ. Then he filed the papers. Then Kenya is shocked. In the morning, papers landing in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What do you do as a Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Attorney General? You first of all reject. You say you have never sat down to agree whether Chebukube should remain in Uganda or Chebukube should be in Kenya. You get my point? That is the letter that these guys, they are very crafty. They removed it. You know you are dealing with guerrilla rebel leaders. I don't know whether Kenya government knows they are dealing with rebels. Most of them transformed Alshabaab men. These are the ones at the helm we are dealing with. You didn't know. These are the guys. They are very crafty in documentation, very crafty in almost everything. So if you give them a chance, they will craft you. Let the people here who handle this foreign policy know that they are dealing with dangerous people. You also need dangerous people on this side who can tell them like now. Now you see how they are going to harass us on Facebook and Twitter. Because we have told the truth. We saw this guy.
You are right, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, Miriam.
All right, and let's move on to our next topic, that is Mozambique, forgotten war of Alshabaab. The U.S. Department of State on Wednesday designated two affiliates of the ISIS operating in Mozambique and the DR Congo as foreign organizations in a movement to cut off supplies to the group and restrict their leaders. In a statement, the department said the ISIS Mozambique are especially designated global terrorists and their leader Abu Yasir Hassan, the terror merchants. As a result of these designations, all their property and interests that are subject to U.S. jurisdiction have been frozen. The Americans are prohibited from engaging in any transactions with them. Now, by December 2020 in Mozambique, the number of civilians forced from their homes by conflict in the northern Mozambique had quadrupled to over 420,000, according to the United Nations. It links the crisis in Cabo Delgado province not just attacks by Islamic militants, but to a perceived failure to distribute vast mineral offshore gas revenues to the local population there. The Al-Shabaab terror war in Mozambique. Dr. Just status of the U.S. Designated Al-Shabaab as a terror group there in Mozambique, the Al-Shabaab in Mozambique.
First of all, Miriam, another goof. When Kenya applied, this is a good subject to it. Kenya applied to Gazette to proscribe the best English language, proscribe Al-Shabaab as a terrorist group, and put its papers in the Security Council. Americans woke up in the morning. Now we are talking about Mozambique, isn't it? Yes. Americans woke up in the morning and said they oppose Kenya. double standards. And then you have an American judge sitting on a bench. They oppose Kenya. We can't gazette Al-Shabaab as a terrorist group. Why? Because Al-Shabaab is in government itself. The director of intelligence in Mogadishu is Al-Shabaab from Qatar. Qatar deals with Trump. Trump gets his money from US, Qatar. Trump allowed Khashoggi to be slaughtered. Stupid people. Silly. Yes, they allowed Khashoggi to be slaughtered for money because Trump does business with the royal kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They slaughtered a fellow investigative journalist, shredded him in two bags. That is what they do to us in Africa. And we should not sit here and tell a lie the United States have given sanctions. Are you now seeing the danger that Al-Shabaab of Mogadishu, an extension, has been sent down to Cape Delgado to kill people? Are you seeing it now? Didn't they know that? They have killed 1,300 people recently, civilians, unarmed. Now they wake up to Islam when Kenya requested for the same. Because why did they refuse to put sanctions on Al-Shabaab? Is perhaps we have even Al-Shabaab in Kenya who supported them. Miriam, unaona how they are Kenyan Al-Shabaab here, whom we shall name very soon. Wako, because we don't want our troops to die. There are people who ferry money on behalf of the main Mogadishu government of Farimajo, transact it through all banks, and they benefit. Then they tell us they have this, they have that. We know them. Doesn't the government know? It should know. Now, gazetting the Al-Shabaab of Mozambique, when they have actually penetrated with the absence of a flying, disappearing president of Tanzania, who has disappeared, commander-in-chief, leaves the army without direction. The southern part of Ruvuma, Nachingwea. I said this again, Miriam, give me a credit. 7 years ago, 2012, what did I say? I said, in Tanzania, there is something which is strange. You dig a railway to where? The light railway from Dar es Salaam to where? To Ruvuma. Then, what does it carry? Does it carry human beings? Does it carry the trees? Or it is carrying what? There was no corresponding railway or plans of a corresponding railway from Beira. You get that point? So we lost it. Who were those people building the railway? The French. What had they found in that area of southern Tanzania and northern Mozambique? Oil and hot gas. Who are their merchants? Qatar. Who supports those rebels? Qatar. You wanted me to bring it to the radio thing? Yes. If United States wants to kill insurgents and terrorism, let them ban Qatar Airways from even flying to United States of America. Ban it. First, then reject their money. Because we are looking for the root cause. What is the root cause? This Al-Shabaab has now grown another sister group down there, isn't it? So what is the root cause? Who is flying them? How did they fly up to there? There must be a very big international movement of arms. Who is arming them? They didn't break a store in Mozambique to get the arms. Miriam, think about this under your panel. Seriously. Who is arming these people? Is Qatar not part of the wider scope of terrorism? You will ask me one day. Why is America now coming up, waking up to put sanctions on a subset of the bigger set? Put sanctions on the bigger set in Asmara. These guys, when they hit you, they go where? Have you asked where they go? Where do they get that time to do those videos? There must be a factory somewhere, a warehouse in Asmara, where they do those videos, isn't it? How can you do a video of that nature and a display to the international agency when when the gun is, you are fighting? How can you do it? Haven't you asked questions? Sisi wajinga sisi, we don't ask questions. These men must be having an office well organized where they can sit and edit the videos, and then post them. Who allows them to post? They don't have a network. Tell me, who is giving them a network to be able to post? Who? Can't the Somali telecommunication detect where these videos are coming from? It can. Then why hasn't it detected and found out who is distributing the videos? There must be an international network. When my video is done, I send it to Doha. Have you seen how the video moves to Doha? And then we keep it that there was a video released yesterday. There must be a network. And that one of Mozambique is serious. They did not take precautions. Medium, let's move on. They didn't take precautions. It is widening. They are killing people. They are slaughtering people. And the people have to call out for help. And giving them sanctions when you have not given them the man's delivering arms to them won't help. Thank you.
All right, Parole, thank you so much. I think you've addressed that topic, so maybe I'll just move to the next country, and that is Senegal, on fire after bad elections. The latest protest was sparked after the arrest of an outspoken opposition leader who had been accused of rape. Ousmane Sonko, who is popular with the country's youth, has since been released on bail, but the rape charges remain. The French presence in an everyday reality for the Senegalese people, with French troops visibly garrisoned in the capital, which is also home to France's largest embassy in sub-Saharan Africa. The country still uses the colonial-era CFA franc currency and retains French as an official language. Some critics say this arrangement, known as Franco-Afrique, is at the root of anti-French discontent because it benefits France at the expense of Senegal, where nearly 40% of the population lives in poverty. French businesses targeted by protesters included Total petrol stations, Orange mobile phone booths, Eiffage, Total Gates, and 21 Auchan supermarkets in Dakar, all part of a French sector that accounts for 25% of Senegalese gross domestic product. France is the leading investor in Senegal and its #1 trading partner. So we've seen the protests that have been happening there in Senegal since about a couple of days ago, and it's no doubt that France is in the heart of it, and the people of Senegal are waking up to the realization that this deal we are having between us and France, we are really not benefiting from it. And so are the people feeling that enough is enough? As we've seen, the protest is against the arrest of the opposition Sonko, but we've seen how the people are now targeting the businesses there in French. So maybe it's just a tipping a time bomb. How do we see this play out, Professor?
Miriam, we did discuss this thing last week, and it's manifestation, Miriam. Most of the French-speaking countries, Miriam, Francophone countries, Miriam, they are being governed from Paris. They have never been free, Miriam. And what you need to do, Miriam, now, where the word has reached there, and that's what Dr. Masanga is trying to say. In this era of digital, Miriam, in the social media, there's nothing you are going to do, Miriam. The rest of the population is always ahead of you. They have got the information. They know when you are lying, Miriam. So when you see them targeting the businesses of Miriam, they are sending the message that you will not continue lying. And what they want to do, Miriam, you give him bail, he gets out, and the judges remains Miriam. It is a wider scheme they are using Miriam to bar the opposition leader from contesting. And Miriam, you can take people for a ride all the time, and all people, but not all the time. So on this one, Miriam, the leadership of the administration of Senegal has moved, and France will be on the receiving end. But I know how France behaves. When they find that they cannot go far with you, they just turn around and then they dump you. And watch this space, that's exactly what will happen.
Okay, we saw what happened in Ivory Coast and other francophone countries across the continent. If you become a liability, then what you've said there, Professor, might happen. Karanja, the way this thing is playing out now is no longer about the opposition leader, but the people of Senegal are now addressing their anger towards France. Yes.
Karianga is not there.
Oh, Karanja is not there. All right, then I'll go to Daniel.
Douglas and Awesonga.
All right, very well. Thank you. Thank you for that, Daniel. The way the people of Senegal there are now channeling their anger towards France and the presence of France troops there in Senegal, their businesses and all that. What message are the people of Senegal are trying to send to their former colonial master?
First and foremost, Miriam, you've mentioned something very significant, and that is Franco-Afrique. And when you the history of West Africa, and more so the countries which were colonized by France, immediately after the pinnacle of African nationalism, when most African countries were gaining independence, you realize that most countries that were colonized by France were given an option of whether seeking a full independence or maybe just giving the French state an autonomous shadow state, where the French will have an extent of control over affairs of these countries through Franco-Afrique. And the founding father of Senegal, that is Léopold Sédar Senghor, someone who was known to be very much French than being African. He lived most of his time in France. He imported most of his goods, his furniture, and he associated more with the French more than with the African people. And that is what has made the basis of the continued interference of France in Senegalese affairs. You realize that countries like Guinea, where we had Ahmed Sékou Touré, who refused being entangled into this Franco-Afrique issue. The French, when they were leaving Guinea, they carried everything, including light bulbs in the office, including pens and simple stationery materials. So for Senegal to be able to benefit from France, they agreed to sign this memorandum of understanding with France that despite them gaining independence, they were going to allow their mother state, their colonizer, that is France, to meddle in some of their affairs. And today, Miriam, when you see the Senegalese people showing some kind of displeasure, it is because of this continued interference in terms of gaining permits to mine resources in France, in Senegal, in terms of even going ahead and dictating who becomes the leader of these Senegalese people. So therefore, Miriam, that tells you that France has been having a very high stake in Senegal, and it has been determining leaders who have been governing this country, and to the displeasure of these people. And it comes a point in time, Miriam, where people have to speak and they have to make their will heard through the ballot. And that is what is happening in Senegal today. Because we have a leader who is being preferred by the French, they do not want these people to have their free will, their democratic rights to elect another leader, perhaps who does not cater for the interests of the French companies in Senegal. So to me, I think it is just high time where people of Senegal have realized that these unholy I'll call it an unholy relationship between themselves and the French government is not paying off, and it is mainly for the interest of France and not for the interest of the Senegalese people. And therefore, the center can no longer hold, and that is why you are seeing such insurgencies coming from the people. And at the end of the day, Miriam, the voice of the people shall prevail. That is what I make out of that.
Okay, very well, indeed. But what is interesting is that all these businesses from France that are France affiliated account for 25% of Senegalese GDP. So that is no small feat there. So if they decide, these companies, to pull out of Senegal, I don't know what that will mean for the economy there in Senegal. But also France is the leading investor in Senegal and it's #1 trading partner. So clearly a lot is at stake here. So how do we see this new targeted anger towards France, even affecting the relationship of these two countries, or these are protests which will just happen and the people will just calm down, as we've seen in the few past years? Or how is this likely to affect the relationship of these two countries, Douglas?
Thank you, Miriam. And also, as a people, as Africans, we need to understand that the economic models that we get from the French people, the investments that they keep pumping into Africa, they are not to the benefit of Africa. They say 25% that accounts for the GDP is from the French companies. These companies will take and throw back the profits to their countries, right? It's like the Chinese. The model that the Chinese are doing, everything and every business that is owned by the Chinese, they'll cut away every profit and every money and take it away to their country. So French continues their pseudo economic models and also economic growth in Africa, and especially in Francophone countries, because they continue benefiting directly from these countries. And these countries, remember, Miriam, most of them have their bank reserves in Paris, in France. These people have no economic freedom over their country. Freedom economically, for you to breathe in these pseudo-economic models have been imposed by the French people. First, you have to be able to subscribe to pouring out their anger again in their country, because Miriam, we need to see the aggression that these people have been able to suffer over time. These people are colonized by the French. After that, they've continued colonizing them as their imperialist model is also a Francophone model, such that if you keep opposing a man that the French wants, like Shona said, you keep suffering the consequences of the same. That's why when people protest in the streets, it goes directly to the economic survival as a country. It goes directly to the upheaval that comes as a result of their political speaking out. When these people speak out, when these people talk about their freedom to exercise their mandate, to elect new leaders, to have leaders that have the best concerns for their people. Remember when Macky Sall was getting elected, people were very irritated. People were moving across the street telling us how freedom has come, economic freedom and all that. All the promises that he made, especially on better living standards and many others, he never fulfilled them because they are controlled from the hip, and they are also controlled by the French on every aspect of their lives. For example, if these people agitate for Macky Sall to go and also for Ousmane Sonko to be let out of prison, Miriam, these people are going to suffer economically because most of the companies are French. When these people talk about the same economically, when you are deprived economically, Miriam, even socially, you cannot be able to have a voice. Their voices are being contained and also being stifled by the French people for their own selfish ambitions and also selfish gains as the French people. Remember, these people have no control of their countries. Their foreign currency reserves are in Paris, in France. Everything is, they rotate their lives around Paris, France. And this is not auguring well with these people, Miriam. They are waking up to the reality of their controlled lives. They are waking up to the reality of their stifled lives. Their voices can no longer be heard, because when you criticize the administration of Macky Sall, you are going to be deprived economically. And also, when you are deprived economically, Miriam, we need to understand, even socially, you cannot be able to gather and with empty stomach, on empty stomachs. You cannot be able to protest and also talk about the political upheaval and also the repression against the people of Senegal and also the opposition. When you have an empty stomach and also your political voice has been able to be miffed at the top of your voice, your political life, social life, and economic life is at stake. And these people need to also unshackle themselves from the French. French people need to respect the will of the people, like Sean has said, of the French people. If French people don't want this control again, the French people can be able to rise from the ashes that they have been able to be taken by the French people. France and other Western greedy resource allies are continuing this marginalization and imperialism against the people of Africa, because they continue controlling three aspects of their lives, which are very important: economic, and also social, and also political, Miriam. The people of France are tired by the administration of Macky Sall, and they need to be given their freedom, the economic freedom, social freedom, and also political freedom, Miriam. My opinion is that the people of France can be able to rise and also build their economy up without the necessary pumping of the resources from Paris, France, which actually are resources that were taken from the French people themselves, Miriam. These are being affected economically, Miriam, is also true. They'll be affected. Yes, it is true. They'll be affected because it is interconnected by the three aspects: social, economic, and also political. But the people of French, it is the people of Senegal, it is their time, Miriam. They go out of their way and unshackle their...
Okay, thank you so much. We are having a bit of a problem with your signal,
Douglas. French people continue colonizing them today.
Very well. Thank you so much, Douglas. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Doctor, before we move on to our last topic of the day, what is happening there in Senegal? What is likely to happen in the future? Now that the people seems to be, expressing their discontent with the heavy presence of France in the country.
First of all, Miriam, you and I sat in the office one day, 2.5 years ago. One of the first shows that I did with you was Matsanga Africa Perspective. I think you remember very well. 2.5 years ago. And on that show, I told you that before 2020, 14 African countries will fall, will collapse in disorder. What the wave that you see coming now in Senegal, if you hold an election in Kenya, that is the wave. 2021, 2022, that will be the wave. If I'm wrong, the men are on the panel here. And that's why Kenya must study the pattern of what is happening in other countries that are holding elections. You are 1 year away from an election. The pandemic is eating people. The pandemic has brought poverty. The pandemic has brought rent arrears. The pandemic has brought unemployment. The pandemic has destroyed the economy. The pandemic has destroyed morals. The pandemic has destroyed society. Tell me in Africa, when in Britain, people are lining 1 kilometer for food. Tell me which African country will survive in an election without an upheaval. Show me one that will come out and say we did it, we are happy, without the opposition going to ban the supporters of the ruling party. Show me, even in Britain, there's a longer queue of people, 1.25 miles, queuing for food bank. Did you see that on BBC yesterday? It's embarrassing. If a country that has social structure can reach a status of that nature, what about an African country like Senegal, where President Wade ruled for over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and I said he smells French perfume, he wears French, he's married to a French lady. So he took the country as a colony. But when he left power, one good thing, he had stabilized democracy. He used to cheat elections, but also allow room for the supporters, for the opposition to survive. During President Wade's regime, go back and read. So if Britain is facing long queues of food, a country that has never had people standing for food because of COVID-19 restrictions, what about you? The people in Kenya, Uganda, and Africa should now be thinking ahead. If I were the president of this country, any of these countries in Africa, I should be thinking of 2024. How will my people look like? And start either telling them, this is how we go, let's start planting this, let's start reserving this, because time is going to come that those countries, Miriam, will not support you.
True.
They will not support you because they have their... Kirimi has just made a point here that it is time for France to look at its own economy. You think France is going to come to be supporting Senegal when there are yellow t-shirts demonstrating in the streets of Paris? They would rather quell that before, when there is no food in Paris. Why do you come to support Senegal? So presidents in Africa should not focus on COVID-19 only, should focus on 2 years of COVID-19. By the time you finish vaccinating your people, all of them, what will happen? Don't think of elections. I swear. Don't think of elections. To hold elections now and to hold elections next year when these conditions of curfew are still there, which we believe they will be there. If you cannot even agree when there is no election, when there is no violence, you don't agree. What about when there is something called COVID? How will you agree? How will you agree, Kenyans? Tell me. Look at the stalemate up in Kampala. People are kneeling down in Kampala. You see, people are kneeling down in Kampala. They are kneeling down saying, do what you want. Have you heard that? They are kneeling down. That is the form of protest. They are not going to the streets. Every morning they wake up, they kneel down. Look at Tanzania. The vacuum left by the absence of the president. Look at Zimbabwe. The turmoil there. The leader of opposition called for mass protest. People's government. The word people's government is now everywhere. Who is coining this?
US renewed sanctions last year against Zimbabwe. Last week, actually, against Zimbabwe.
It did what?
It renewed its sanctions. Remember the ones
Yes.
Trump renewed, Biden has renewed again. Mm.
Exactly. Look at it. Joe Biden is not Trump. Trump was business-minded. And with business, Trump was like a Ruto. You are talking with him, but he's thinking of what he's going to grab next. He's not talking about the politics. He's going to power to grab. So Trump is like a my brother, the younger brother, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the younger man.
Together with his son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
I am told so. Jared Kushner is now the son-in-law.
Yes.
The one who,
right.
Don't go. For us elders who have produced children, don't talk about our in-laws. We leave them out. But we talk about the man himself. So, Joe Biden is not business, he's also business-minded. But business quietly. But this one, Trump was direct. Qatar, just cut Khashoggi. Don't worry about me. I'll recover you up. But now, with this Joe Biden, give Mutunga, the former Chief Justice, give him dollar to mobilize the wheelbarrow people on the ground. Tell me, can I tell you one thing, Miriam? You know, can I tell you?
Go ahead.
Part of Ruto is NGO. I'm revealing this today with evidence. Yes, I have now got it. The people like Chungwa are NGO. They are George Soros' point men in Ruto's camp. In your camp of Nyari ODM, do you know who is George Soros?
Tell me.
Orengo. I swear. And if you are not careful, we are going to be in chaos. Half George Soros, half ODM. Orengo cannot make his own decision. Neither Ruto. They're either weighing where is the biggest money. And the biggest money of George Soros, which comes in dollars, which you don't bank through the bank, is the one people are looking for. And I'm being honest on this. Some ODM insiders will tell you that they are being frustrated. They are frustrating Baba with demands that were not there. So I am not, at least I'm not George Soros. I'm not married to somebody who has links with George Soros. My wife supports me in my work. Every difficult I get, when I went to negotiate with Konyi, she supported me. She cried, she thought I was gonna not come. When I went to negotiate for them, he said, why are you going? Why are you living this good life to go there? But she said, let's pray. She's a Christian. She prayed. I have never, an NGO like George Soros cannot approach me, Miriam. Because they know I'm radical. Have you seen the trouble they have caused for Karim Khan? Have you, another bombshell is coming there. They have rejected everything. They want a fresh, that Karim Khan is not fit to be. And they have now, this time they have touched a big country, a superpower, which proposed Karim Khan, and that's Britain. Munaona shida, that's internationalism, which we should study very carefully. That's why I told you that people should not celebrate too much about Karim Khan coming to power as a chief prosecutor. This man could turn on us and even be lethal. We better get away from that ICC before Karim Khan.
100% right, Dr. Masanga.
He could turn on us, Miriam. All of us would be in jail. Karim Khan is dead, could become bad news. And you will come to see me in jail. In The Hague. I'm telling you. So people are rejoicing down here.
I will come and they will put me. You will come and they will put us in also.
Yes, no, look at the whole thing. They are even calling for more evidence. Now, the more evidence they have just called last week. What do you think Fatou Bensouda is doing to salvage the image of George Soros, not withdrawing in funding the Witness Protection Unit? George Soros pays for all witnesses to have accommodation, new identity card, daily allowance. Where will you get that money to pay for the witnesses? Where? Which country is willing to put its dollars online? So they better sabotage one case, and then it fails Karim Khan. And that's what they are doing. So for me, I always tell these people jokingly, but because I'm not a white skin, so I will remain like this with my black skin. Sudan. In a nutshell, William, for your case in Senegal, the president is a great friend of some of us, but he's a very big liar. Why do you trump this younger man on rape? Rape cases don't work. That he raped somebody, a person who worked for rape. Why do they rape? Rape cases don't work. If ask any lawyer, a Songa, your madam is a lawyer. Ask. Rape case must qualify and hinged on one thing, which I can tell you off camera, not on this show, because this is a Sunday, a great Sunday. We don't want to spoil some people's appetite of this book, which we have read all of us this morning. But rape is hinged on that. So this boy Sonko is punished for nothing. That's why can the Minister Sali, the President Sali just say, I have arrested him because he's getting money from George Soros to oppose me. After all, he also came from George Soros. You remember? Open Society supported him. So they have turned on each other. The trouble that is going to come here if you continue the way we are is one. You saw what Ruto said in Busia, that unless they don't do something, but if they come for voting, we shall defeat them. But in Busia, did you hear what he said in Busia and your place, Funyula? That's what he said.
Yes, I heard that, Dr. Matsanga. It was a bit unfortunate to come from the deputy president.
He said it because it's George Soros halfway. Those shirts he wears, one shirt is this way, another one is George Soros. There is a George Soros man in his office whom the government has not smoked out. So there you are. There unawaambia enda mfanye kama kitu mnataka. Nimechoka. Mimi nimechoka sana. There's a George Soros man there who wrote statements against the same Ruto. Murkomen, Sang, and that man. They teamed up and wrote statements against William Ruto to be detained in the Hague. And William Ruto today laughs with his teeth out to these people. Gives them money and positions. They enjoy his money. I've forgiven them, but I will not forget. Yes. Ukweli izungumizwe. I was the only man standing. This Onyari followed me. When he saw me, one Ugandan man in sub-Saharan Africa standing to defend against amorphous institutions like ICJ, stupid institution like ICC, he followed me. He's here.
That's how that's the channel
why we have our friendship. Our friendship is not based on academic. It's based on passion or patriotism.
Yes.
He followed me. And that's why today, up to today, Miriam is with me. Because I stood alone. Nobody wanted to see Uhuru Kenyatta come out of the Hague. Nobody wanted Ruto ever to breathe and wear those shirts from Turkey and run around with them. I wear mine from Marks and Spencer. I hope you have seen it. It's here. Turkey is a very bad place to associate myself with. So he goes to say, unless, you look at the statement he's making, and you are talking about Senegal. Senegal is already here. The man has said, unless, wanapanga na mimi nimeshapanga. Isn't that plan B? Then, unless they do it, what did he say lastly? Wesonga, unless they do something in hiding. Isn't it what he said?
That is very correct, Dr. Masanga. Very
he
correct.
Said, kama wanafanya kitu ngine kwa chini chini, then that is where, so the man, those who are telling me that I was a liar, didn't I tell you he has a plan B? Look at it, that's the plan B like a Senegal. He will lose an election. What will he tell his supporters? Bring the guns. Come on the streets. He will not go honorable. He will not. Raila would not have, in 2007, Raila would not have sparked any violence. Raila would have conceded. You, Miriam, you know Ogwambo. Onyari, you know Ogwambo. Wesonga, you know Ogwambo. All of us, Douglas. Ogwambo would have said, for the sake of the country, But this guy stood on the chair, on the table, even he wanted to give shoes to Mr. Taningo, and I went back and I said, yes, we have been cheated. So be careful. I'm just warning you, my brothers. Be careful. Let's move to Sudan. If we are not late, if we are late, there is Sudan, isn't it?
Ethiopia.
No, let's leave Ethiopia out. Sudan is not on.
No.
South Sudan.
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Then we can medium, we can close it that way. I have sent. Let's close with these comments. Then we start on it tomorrow. I've sent a video which you should see on Sudan,
right.
And that's all.
Okay.
Stephen, bring that one of South Sudan.
All right.
The rest we can do tomorrow, please.
All right. Thank you so much. They're still looking for that video, so we'll just conclude, and then the video will play. And then tomorrow we shall pick it from there and have a conversation about it. Thank you, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you, Jevan Karanja, who left the conversation a bit early there, Daniel Wesonga and Douglas Kirimi, and of course, Dr. David Matanga. So if the video is ready, then we can play it. We will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. East African time, God willing. Thank you for watching and take care.
10 o'clock, I will be on cast. Live. I've linked, so they will prepare for that. Then there's no. Then you take over from the same. Thank you very much. The show will be live. The world can see.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
To a decade-long nightmare. I survived this imprisonment and Kiir's later attempt to either kill or abduct me from Kenya because of the support of many human rights defenders, including several members of this committee. I'm grateful to you all and the U.S. government for saving my life and that of my family. When South Sudan gained independence in 2011, Kiir was appointed, not elected, appointed president and charged with building institutions to allow for elections in 2015. But in 2013, he and former Vice President Riek Machar plunged our new nation into a civil war. Kiir used the conflict to defer elections from 2015 to 2018 and again to 2021. Although the current peace agreement requires election be held by March 2022, is already proposing 2023 and beyond. Meanwhile, he has built a repressive security state in the form of the National Security Service, run by General Akolkur Kuch, who personally oversees the planning and the commission of gross human rights violations through his special forces in his office. A 4-person task force in Kuch's office identifies targets for extrajudicial killing, enforced disappearance, and arbitrary arrests. Kuch also manages numerous corrupt schemes, illegally extracting millions of dollars through public sector corruption. Kiir's failed leadership has been devastating. Poverty rate, which stood at 50% at independence, is now at 82%. We ranked dead last in the 2020 Social Progress Index, tied for the last place with Somalia in the 2020 Corruption Perception Index, and scored only 2 out of 100 in the 2021 Freedom House Global Freedom Score. Our people are living in unrelenting horror. The United States needs to send a clear message to Kiir that his repression of our people will no longer be tolerated, nor any further delay of elections. We should sanction perpetrators of gross human rights violations like Kuch, while urging the African Union to urgently set up the hybrid court on South Sudan to end impunity. If Kiir doesn't hold election on time, his already illegitimate regime will have expired. Since he was never elected by our people, this will necessitate a new political paradigm to ensure a successful transition to democracy. Despite severe repression, our people made it clear in the recently concluded national dialogue that Kiir and Machar must exit the political scene. I hope the United States, this committee, will stand with our people. South Sudan case highlight 5 challenges to democracy, not only in Horn of Africa, but on the entire continent and globally. 1, restriction of press freedom by dictators who know that information is power and who fear informed citizenry, and act to keep our people ignorant of their misery. 2, severe repression of political opposition and activists by tyrants who fear losing power, lacking the ability to compete in free exchange of ideas. They resort to violence, intimidation, and harassment. Through Department of State, the U.S. should publicly identify and monitor the cases of bellwether activists and act swiftly and decisively when they face repression. If we are killed or detained with impunity, then who will fight for freedom in our countries? 3, entrenched leaders who abuse term limits, and whom the U.S. must confront to reverse course. 4, Chinese promotion of authoritarianism through anti-democratic tactics, financial coercion, and physical intimidation. The U.S. need to counter China by supporting exchange programs and expanding access to U.S. institutions of knowledge. The U.S. also need to encourage its private sector to expand investment in Africa, where Chinese capital is not only entrenching authoritarianism, but weakening instruments of accountability. Finally, sham elections that dampen faith in democracy, making mockery of the sacred instruments through which the sovereign will of the people is expressed. In closing, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, the human desire for freedom and opportunity gives me hope that with right policies and resolve, not only will dictatorship fail, but freedom will thrive. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha.
For your courage.